I think we can go ahead and get things kicked off. I know Jeff has a lot of great content he wants to cover today. But welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Christina Caesar, and I manage marketing and communications at Synergy Technical, and I have the honor of introducing today's speaker and moderating today's session. Today's webinar will demonstrate how to create no-code chatbots using Power Virtual Agents, which is a tool within the Microsoft Power Platform. And just a reminder, today's webinar is being recorded, and please drop any comments or questions in the Q&A function within Teams. So just a little bit about us. Synergy Technical is an IT consulting firm headquartered in Richmond, Virginia. We have clients in over 70 countries and all 50 states and manage over 3 million licenses of Microsoft 365 for our clients through our licensing and managed services practice. And a large part of that success is due to today's presenter. So I have the pleasure of introducing today's speaker, Jeff Lau. Jeff is one of our best business analysts and SharePoint developers that specializes in the Power Platform suite. You can usually find him working on client projects and development, but I'm so excited. This is actually Jeff's second live webinar on the Power Platform. In case you missed last month's, he did an awesome webinar on creating business applications using Powerapps and Power Automate, and you can find that full recording on our YouTube channel. So with that raving introduction, Jeff, I know you have a lot to cover, so I'll hand things over to you and we can get going.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina. I appreciate the introduction. Hey, everyone. Again, my name is Jeff Lau, and I am super excited to be here today to talk with you a little bit more about Power Virtual Agents. So I do have a lot to cover today, so let's go ahead and jump in. So if you look at the screen here, we have the Microsoft Power Platform. And so if you were in the last webinar, this picture might be familiar to you, but if not, the Power Platform is a suite of tools created by Microsoft that allows what we call citizen developers, people who are not familiar with traditional app development and coding. It gives them the ability to create applications to solve their business problems. And they can do that using these 4 tools in this platform. So we have Power BI, Powerapps, Power Automate, and today we're going to be talking about Power Virtual Agents. And so in the last webinar, we spoke on Powerapps and Power Automate. We're going to dive a little more deep into Power Virtual Agents today. And so first, I just kind of want to give you some core concepts, kind of the foundations of this tool. And then we're going to jump into the demonstration, which we'll spend the majority of our time in today because it's easier to see this tool in action. So with all that said, let's go ahead and jump in. So what are Power Virtual Agents? So Power Virtual Agents are chatbots that you create to support your end users in some form or fashion. So these chatbots can be very simple, but they can also get very complex. So you might have a chatbot that just simply answers questions for your users, but Power Virtual Agents are very powerful, as they're in the name. You can actually create bots that perform different tasks for your users. And so we'll see that today in the demonstration. But if you look at this picture here, you can kind of see what the chatbot will look like to your users once you actually create one. But I'm sure you've been to a website before where you had, a chatbot pop up on the screen and, it'd be able to answer questions for you, and you didn't even have to actually talk to a live person. So these are really cool, and you can create these yourself without, having to know how to code or anything like that. So they are very powerful. One really awesome thing about Power Virtual Agents is their ability to understand natural language. We all know that people communicate differently, and we just simply phrase our sentences differently person to person. And Power Virtual Agents actually uses artificial intelligence to be able to understand all users regardless of how they talk. So that's one of my favorite features about virtual agents, and kind of gives them the ability to kind of allow your user to kind of feel like they're actually talking to a real person. Another feature of Power Virtual Agents is their ability to connect to different services and tools. And one thing I'm going to be showing today in the demonstration is how we can actually connect Power Automate to our chatbots that we create. And if you're unfamiliar with Power Automate, that's completely fine. This webinar is not going to be focused on that per se, but this actually is another tool in the Power Platform. And Power Automate specifically allows you to create automated business process workflows. And so In the demonstration, I'm going to actually show you how we can connect Power Automate to our chatbots, and it's a little more of a complex topic, but I thought it would be really cool to add to this webinar, kind of show you just how powerful these chatbots can be. The last thing I want to just tell you about is the different ways that we can deploy these chatbots to your end users. So once you've created the chatbot and you've tested it and everything works as you expect it to, then there's a bunch of different ways that you can actually distribute this chatbot out so your users can consume it and start interacting with it right away. So towards the end of the demonstration, I'll be kind of showing you some of these different methods. So how do we actually create virtual agents? So we create these chatbots using what we call topics. And topics is where you actually start to define the different conversations that your users will have with the chatbot. So I like to think of topics as containers that hold trigger phrases and then the actual conversation itself. So if you look at this picture here, you can see this is actually a picture taken from the tool itself. And there's a bunch of different topics here. And so this first topic up at the top is called the greeting topic. And so this one is in charge of greeting your user when they first initiate the conversation to your chatbot. So when they go to the chat window and they say hello or good afternoon or whatever, then this greeting topic will initiate and the conversation will start. So if I go in and click into this greeting topic, kind of see what's behind the scenes here. First, you see that we have a bunch of different trigger phrases. We have some like good afternoon, good morning, hello, hello agent, and you can actually see there's 52 of them in this topic. And so whenever your user says one of these phrases, or even a phrase that is similar to one of these, then this topic will be initiated and then the conversation will start to flow through. And again, you'll kind of see how this works in a little bit, but you can see that we have a couple messages below all the trigger phrases. This first one's just saying, hi, I'm a virtual agent, and I can help you with any questions that you have. The last thing I want to mention about topics is there's two different kinds of topics. We have user topics and system topics. Really the only difference, system topics are the ones that are given to you by default. So right when you create a new chatbot for the first time, you're given a bunch of topics that you can kind of start out with and leverage in your bot. So we just saw one of them, that was the greeting topic, but we have a couple other ones too, like goodbye, which simply says goodbye to your user when the conversation's over. And there's a couple more here as well. But we also have user topics, and these are going to be the ones that you create yourself as the bot creator. So you'll actually customize them to your liking. All right, we also have something in Power Virtual Agents called entities. And entities allow us to extract different pieces of information from the conversation that your user has with the chatbot. So you can use this information that is stored maybe later on in the conversation. And so if you look on this slide here, you'll see that we have the age entity, and there's a bunch of different entities in Power Virtual Agents, as you'll see a little later on, but this is just one that I have for an example here. And we can see that the description of this entity is the age of a person, place, or thing extracted as a number. So if you look down a little below that, you'll see a couple different examples of this entity being used. And so if your user happens to say something like, I'm 19 years old, or my car is less than 5 years old, you'll see that this entity is able to extract out the 19 years, it'll extract out that 5 years, and you can actually save those values to a variable. And this is really powerful because maybe you want to show these values later on in the conversation. Maybe you want to show it to the user. But what's even more powerful is maybe you want to actually store these values into maybe a database or something like that. All this is made possible through these entities. And so what I want to go ahead and do now is jump into the demo. I know kind of a lot of these different topics are kind of abstract and maybe hard to understand just by looking at them, but once we hop into the demonstration, a lot of things will probably make a little more sense. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to head over to my desktop here. Okay, so this is the main page when you go to powervirtualagents.com. And so if I go up to the top right here, we can see this little icon. And here's where you'll actually go to create a new bot for the first time. And you can see this new bot button right here. And so this allows you to give your bot a name. You could actually choose what kind of language you want your bot to be in, which is really neat. There's a bunch of languages you can choose from. And then, of course, you actually select the environment that you want your bot to live in as well. What I went ahead and did is created a bot. Before this webinar, it actually takes a little bit of time to initiate the bot, so I didn't want to waste your time with that. But what I did is I called this bot Computer Details. You can see here. And don't worry about why I called it that for now. That'll come into play a little later on. But that's what I named the bot. And if we look over to the left-hand side here, we'll see we have something called the test bot. And this actually allows us to test out the bot as we start to create it. So every time we add something new to our bot, we can test it out and see exactly what the users will see, which is really handy. So we're going to explore some of these tabs over here on the left-hand side. Clicking to the Topics tab. And here is a familiar picture. We saw this in the slide deck a couple minutes ago, and this is all the topics that we have when we create a bot for the first time. So you'll see we have all of these system topics, and if I hover my mouse over, you'll see that they're denoted system topic by this little gear icon here. And so we have a lot of different ones of those we could use, but we also have these 4 user topics up here as well. And so we're given 4 of these to begin with. And Power Virtual Agents, they call them lesson topics. So we have 4 different ones of these, and these actually teach you how to create topics. So if you're new to Power Virtual Agents, then you can kind of go through these lessons and see how to construct a topic from just a simple topic to more complex. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into this first one. And so again, topics are containers that hold trigger phrases and the conversation. So we see here we have our trigger phrases. In this particular scenario, this topic is actually providing our user with store hours for 2 particular stores. And we see we have some trigger phrases like when are you closed, when are you open, store hours, and so on. So maybe I want to add another trigger phrase to this topic. I can do that. So I'll just click this 3 dots here and edit our trigger phrases. And it's really easy to just add as many as you'd like. So I'll just add something like what are the store hours? I can add that right there. And so it's best to add about 5 to 10 of these just to make your topic accurate, make sure it actually initiates when your user says something that should initiate the topic. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that. And so right below our trigger phrases, we see we have a couple different messages that we're going to send to our user. The first one's just saying that they're happy to help you with the store hours. And then right below that, we actually have the store hours themselves. So again, we're gonna hop over to our test bot over here, and what we'll do is try out our topic. So I'll just use that trigger phrase that we added. What are the store hours? And so we can see here that right when I do that, the topic is initiated, and we see that it was successful by these little check marks here. So you can see in the chat window that I have received those messages. All right, and you can also see that at the end here, we received a question. Did that answer your question? And we can either click yes or no, but even type in a message if we'd like. But if we go back over to our conversation, we can see that this topic actually ends with another topic. And that's kind of how you create your chatbot. You create a bunch of different topics, and then you can actually connect these topics together to kind of create a full conversation. So you can see here that we have the end of conversation topic. This is just another system topic. that is given to us. So I'm going to click into this topic here. And so we can see here that the first thing that's happening in this topic is it's asking me this question. And so that's the question that we received over here in our test bot. So you can see that this question is, did I answer your question? And right below it, in this little identify drop-down menu, this is the menu that actually allows us to give our user what they should respond with. So in this particular case, we are actually using one of these entities. So if I scroll down here, we can see that we're using the Boolean entity. And so the Boolean entity says positive or negative responses extracts as a Boolean. And a Boolean is simply true or false value. So you can see right below that, we have this save response as. So whatever our user chooses, it will save into this variable right here. And so I'm actually going to name this variable something a little more, something that makes a little more sense. We'll just name it var answered question. Okay, so my user over here in our chatbot could either select yes or no. And so if they select yes, then this variable will be set to true because it's a Boolean. If they select no, then it will be set to false. And what's great about our entities is they could either select yes or no, but they can also use natural language to answer the question as well. So what we can do is go ahead and test this out. Or actually, first, let's go ahead and show you what's going on right below our question here. And you can see we have two different conditions. And so the first condition here, you can see that our variable that we stored our answer up here is being set to true. So depending on whatever our user inputs as their answer, we can send them down different pathways here. So if our variable is set to true, we'll send them down this path. If it's set to false, then we'll send them down this path. So what we can do is go ahead and try this out in our chatbot here. So we'll just use natural language here. I'll just say, yep, that sure did. Be an exclamation mark. And since that was a positive response, our variable was set to true. And you can see that our conversation took this pathway down here. And so if I would have said something negative, maybe it didn't answer my question, then of course we would go down this pathway. So you can kind of see how this conversation is constructed and how you can kind of create a conversation depending on whatever your user says. And right below these conditions, you can see we have two other topics. So we're not going to go into these, but you can see that, there's actually two topics down here, and our conversation would actually go into these topics as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to exit out of this, and I'm going to go to this entities tab over here. And so these are all the different entities that we can use in our chatbot. And so we used this Boolean one just a second ago, but there's tons of different ones that you can utilize. For instance, we have this email entity, so this will actually be able to extract an email from the conversation. So maybe you want to send your email or send your user an email. You'd be able to do this using this email entity. And so we'll actually use this a little later when we go to create a topic. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to head back over to slides here, and what I've done is I've created a scenario which we're going to build a chatbot for. So we're going to pretend that we have a company called Contoso, and they are a computer company, and so they want a chatbot for their company site, and this chatbot needs to be able to answer different questions about the computers that they sell. So in this particular scenario, we have brand A and brand B. And so we want to be able to give the user information about these brands. And there's one other requirement that I wanted to add here, and we want to be able to send the user coupons if they request some. So this is actually going to involve us using Power Automate. We'll do that towards kind of the end of building our chatbot. But let's go ahead and jump back over to virtual agents here. And what we're going to do is go ahead and build a new topic. So you can see up here, there's this button called New Topic. I'm just going to click that. I'm going to give my topic a name. We'll just call it Computer Details Topic. And so the first thing we need to do is give our topic some trigger phrases. And we did this a little earlier. What I went ahead and did is created some of these beforehand, and I'm just going to enter them in here. So they all have to do with buying and purchasing computers, and so I've go ahead and created some that actually had to do with the brands that we're looking for. So brand A. So I'm looking for brand B computer. I have a couple more. There we go. So we got about 6 pretty good trigger phrases for our topic here. So let's go ahead and exit out of that. And now what we can go ahead and do is start building out our conversation. So what do we want our chatbot to communicate with our user? So right below our trigger phrases, you can see we have one message that we can start out with. And what I'll do is I will go ahead and send our user a message that says, I'd be happy to help you with your computer needs. And of course, you can use emojis if you wanted to. I just kind of like to do that, makes it maybe feel a little more lively and like you're talking to an actual person. So there's our first message that we're going to send to our user. And then what we can do is just start continuing our conversation. And so I can add a new piece to the conversation by clicking this icon here. And we can do a bunch of different things. I'm going to ask our user a question. So the first question I want to ask is, what brand of computer are you interested in purchasing? So of course we have 2 brands, so I tell them that, and so they can choose which brand they are looking for. And if we scroll down again, where we are giving our users the different options, we could just give them multiple choice options, or again, use one of our entities. In this situation, it seems like we should just use multiple choice options because we have 2, right? Brand A and B. So I can simply just type in the options I want to give to my user. And there we go. And then of course we want this value to be saved to a variable. So here's our variable. I'll just give it a more reasonable name. We'll just call it var brand. All right, so that variable will either be brand A or brand B, depending on what our user decides. And if we look below this, you can actually see that Virtual Agents has already given us 2 conditions. So it's actually, building out our conversation for us, which is really nice. You don't even have to do it. And you can see we have 2 conditions, one for brand A and one for brand B. So our variable is being set equal to those different choices. And so depending on our user's choice, we're going to send them down either this path or this path. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just work on the brand A part of the conversation. So if they choose brand A, what do we want to tell them next? And so what we can go ahead and do is ask them another question. And so I'll just simply add another question. And so this time we'll just ask them if they would like more info on these computers. So I just said, we have 2 types of brand A computers for sale. Would you like more info? And again, we need to decide what kind of choices we're going to give to our user. In this case, we're actually going to utilize one of our entities. We're going to use that Boolean entity so they can use natural language when they go to answer this question. Okay, so I'll just select that. It's a name. All right, so they can either decide that they want model info or they don't. So what we need to do is add some conditions to our conversation. So we can do that by simply adding a condition here. So we're going to go ahead and add 2 of those, right? And so we called our variable var model info. And so I can go ahead and just create these conditions. So we'll set our variable to true over in this condition. And we'll set our variable to false here. All right, so if they decide they do not want any information on our computers, what we can do is go ahead and end the conversation there. And the way we do that is we'll simply just add an end of conversation topic. So if you can see here, I simply just added another node, and the bottom says end the conversation. And so what I can do is end with a survey. So they can basically tell us if they are satisfied with the conversation. All right, so let's go ahead, and what we can do is add another message to this. So if they do want model info, we can go ahead and give them some information. So let's go ahead and show a message. And what I did is I went ahead and pre-created some information on some of the models. And what I'll do is just paste that in there. I'm going to format this a little better so you can see. But we have 2 different models of computers we're going to show our user when they request it. And so what we can do now is go ahead and save what we have so far. We'll save our conversation, we'll save our topic, and then we'll actually test it out. So I'll just go up here and save. Okay, there it's saved. And what we'll do is go ahead and test it. So I'm gonna just simply ask our bot a question over here. We'll just say, I need help picking out a computer. And we can see that our topic gets initiated and we're on to our first question. So we can go ahead and answer that over here. Choose brand A. And yes, we would like more information. So there we go. You can see that our information is displayed in the chat window. And so good. Everything seems to be working as we want it to. And so what we can go ahead and do is start continuing our conversation. We'll go ahead and finish it out. So if you remember, the last requirement in our scenario was to actually send coupons to our user if they would like some. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to ask them if they would like coupons. So we'll just ask another question. So I'll just say, would you like us to email you a coupon for brand A computers? And again, what we're going to do is use our Boolean entity. And again, I'm going to add our conditions. We'll go ahead and explain this. Assume you know what I'm doing at this point. So I'm just going to add those conditions here and go ahead and set our variable. So if they don't want coupons, then of course it'll be a negative response that we receive, therefore sending us down this pathway here. So again, we can just go ahead and end our conversation. I'm going to end it with a survey. And it's nice that you can end the conversation with a survey. They can tell you if they were satisfied with the conversation. If they weren't, then as a bot creator, you can actually notice. You can go in and see the results of all these surveys and make changes to your topics as you need. So we're going to go back over here, and when our user does want coupons, we're going to go ahead and get their email address so we can send them to coupons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a question, and it's not actually going to be a question more so, it's just going to be a statement. I'm just going to say, please provide us with your email address. But then what we can do is we can use that email entity and be able to extract that email address out of the conversation so we can use it. Just type in that entity over here, and there it is. Alrighty. And I'm simply just gonna add a message right after that saying, thank you, and we will send you a coupon. So you can see how easy it is to kind of construct these conversations. It's not magic that your chatbot is able to kind of go through this. You're actually creating the conversation for your user. So we're just going to end with that message there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save again what we have so far. Always important to save, just to avoid any losses. So again, we're gonna test our chatbot out again before we finish it up, and because I want to show you one really cool feature about Power Virtual Agents, and it's called slot filling, and it basically allows us to skip different steps in our conversation depending on what your user says. And so, for instance, if a user says something like, if they say like, maybe I need some info on brand A computers, I'll just enter that in right here. If you remember, our first question was asking if they are looking for brand A or brand B computers. So there's no reason to go ahead and ask them this question again if they already stated that that's what they're looking for. So there's actually nothing we have to do, but you'll see that when I go ahead and respond with this question, it actually goes ahead and skips this step completely and inserts that brand A into this condition here. And so really neat feature that kind of allows you to not be redundant with asking questions to your users. So really cool. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and go through these again. Let's go through this conversation. And again, here it is asking for our email address. So I will give it our address. And of course, we get our last message displayed to us as well. I do want to show you this one thing down here. It's called the variable watch. And if I click on this, I'm actually able to see all the variables within my chat, and I can see what they have been set to, in this session. So we can see that var email is set to that email address that I provided. So this could be useful maybe if you're trying to troubleshoot your flow or your chatbot. Alrighty. What we're going to do last is actually we're going to send our user a coupon. So said a little earlier that is going to involve us using Power Automate. So how do we go about doing that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to add one last node here, and you see this tab called Call in Action. And so what this allows me to do is to go ahead and call one of our Power Automate workflows that we have created. And what I did is I went ahead and created this beforehand. and I called this workflow send coupon email. And so I don't want to get into how this flow works. That's kind of a separate webinar in itself. But what this does is it kind of takes in an email, and we're going to use that email that we got from our user, and we called it var email, if you remember. And we're basically going to give it to this flow, and this flow will then send an email out to our user with the coupons. So I'm going to click on our flow here, and you can see that it gets added. And right here, I'm actually able to send a value to our flow. And that's exactly what I want to do. I want to send that email variable. So I'll apply that. And that's really all we have to do. Again, there's some work that has to go into to create this flow, but you can see how powerful this could truly be if you can start calling these automated workflows right from your chatbot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this, and we'll test out the full solution here. Alrighty. And so what I actually have my mailbox up here so we can actually see if we receive the email. So again, I'm just going to go. I will ask our question here. I'm just going to go through the conversation once again. Provide our email address. And there we go. You can see that our Power Automate, the action right here has a little check mark. So that means it did work, and you might have heard that sound. If we go to my mailbox, we can see here that indeed I received an email with our coupon here. So really neat stuff. And so we just created a simple little chatbot that was able to answer questions for our users about those two brands. And of course, if we scroll up to the top here, we only worked on this side of the conversation. So if our user chose brand A, what we would need to do to I guess make this complete would be to actually do the same thing that we did on this side over here for brand B. For the sake of time, we're not going to do that, but you can kind of see how easy it is to construct these conversations. All right. So what I'm going to show you last, and I said I would show you, is a couple different ways that we can actually distribute our chatbots out once we create them. So the first thing we need to do is publish our bot, and so there's actually a tab dedicated to do that. So just click on publish. Alrighty. And so the first way that you can kind of give this chatbot out to others and allow them to actually use it is using this demo website. So you can see that right here. I'll just open that up. And so Virtual Agents actually creates this mock website and places your chatbot right here in the center. So you could interact with it just as you do in the tool. And you can see it works just the same. And so what you could do is just send them this link and they could open up your chatbot and start consuming it right away. So that's I guess the easiest way to kind of distribute your chatbot out. What I did was actually created a website called Contoso Computers, and this is another way you can make your chatbot available to your users. Is simply, or I wouldn't say it's simple, but to basically add this chatbot to your company site. So, and that's what I did here. I created this mock website here and actually added our chatbot down here. And so again, we would be able to talk to our chatbot straight from this site. And so there's definitely some things that you have to know how to do in order to make this happen. But the fact of the matter is that it is possible to do. And so you can definitely have your chatbot on different sites here. And the last way I want to, the last method of making your chatbot available is through Teams. So if you're familiar with Microsoft Teams, then you'll know that we can create different teams and have different channels within our teams. And so that's what I've done. I've created a channel called Contoso Computers and actually have a channel called Virtual Agent 1. And so there's a little bit of administrative work that you need to do in order to actually get your chatbot working within a team. But that's what I did, actually applied that chatbot to this team. And what I can do is, while I'm in this channel, I can actually call my chatbot straight from here. And the way I do that is I do a little @ symbol, and then here you can access all your different apps that you have available. And I have one that's called the Contoso Computer Bot. And then I simply just ask the bot my question. And right from Teams, I'm able to interact with my chatbot, and you can see that there it goes. It starts to respond to my question. And so those are, I guess, the three main methods of kind of making your chatbot available to your end users. Of course, again, that you have to do a couple little things to make everything work, but it's all possible. And I hope that you've learned more about Power Virtual Agents in this webinar, and maybe have some ideas now of possibly using this within your organization. So with all that being said, I think I'm ready to go ahead and hop over to any questions that you might have had during this session. So
yeah, awesome job, Jeff. That was great. And we do have a couple questions for you. So first off, and so while I go through these last minute, if anyone wants to drop them into the Q&A chat, I will read those as well. But first, is there a way to see how well your chatbot is performing day to day, and are the users getting their questions answered, etc.?
Yes, there is. And you know what? I'll go ahead and show that. There's actually a tab kind of dedicated to that, and it's called Analytics. And so we can actually go into this tab and see exactly how well our chatbot is doing. And what's actually happening in the back end of this is there's actually a Power BI report that has a bunch of different statistics on your bot. So you can see the total sessions that your bot has had over a period of time, and there's a bunch of different ones here. Also, I did mention that we had the ability to give our user a survey at different parts of the conversation. And so we can actually see this customer satisfaction tab. We can see the scores that we receive. So, if we start receiving pretty bad scores, then that your chatbot is having some issues. So you can of course, go in there and try to troubleshoot that. But yeah, no, this can definitely be helpful in terms of figuring out if your chatbot is doing well or not.
Yeah, that is really cool. Cool. So next question. I saw you added the chatbot to a website. Can you add the chatbot to an app created in Powerapps?
Yes, you can. You can, if you're familiar with Powerapps, of course, we have a couple different kinds of apps that you can create. We have the Canvas apps and then model driven. You can definitely add these chatbots to both of those. Again, it takes a little bit of configuration, and it's definitely not the kind of an out-of-box feature, I guess you would say, but it's definitely certainly possible. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm not seeing any other questions yet right now in the question box, but if anyone has any last minute drop in while they're at it, I will say thank you everyone for attending today. Thank you, Jeff. You did an amazing job. To the attendees, you will receive a follow-up email with the recording to this webinar by tomorrow. And in the future, please be sure to keep up with us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like I said, Jeff did an awesome Powerapps Power Automate webinar last month. You can find the recording too there, and you can check out our events page for more upcoming webinars. And if you have any questions on any of the topics covered today, just please reach out to me and I will connect you with Jeff or the appropriate AE. And I'm still not seeing any other questions, so I think we can give you a little time back in your day. And thank you again for joining us. And thank you again, Jeff. You crushed it. Everyone have a great day.